give you, the viewers, our views, opinions, topics, and discussions about everything role-playing. Okay, as you can see today, I am running solo. I forgot where I put my co-host. I don't remember where he is. When I find him, hopefully he's still breathing. I left him with some Cheerios, but he should be okay. When I find him, he will be back for the next episode, so don't worry, folks. Simple mistake, we'll fix it.
Fundy! Fundy, you left me back here! I'm out of Cheerios! Fundy!
Okay, so today we are doing another episode of DM's Corner. Alright? DM's Corner, as you guys have, if you've been following along, know that DM's Corner is essentially a series that we do that gives advice and know-how and little tricks of the trade for us DMs on how to better manage our games and things that maybe we might not have thought about. I mean, D&D is a big community. Role-playing is a huge community. Well, let's learn from each other. And so that's what I'm hoping to accomplish with you guys, with this series, and with this episode. Now, this episode, specifically, is called Accessorize. I'm talking bling, folks. And what I mean by that is we're talking things that you, the DM, could use at your table, at your setup, to facilitate your role as the game master, to help you better engage your players and pull them in to your world, okay? So, let's start off with what is the bare minimum that you need in order to be a DM? Well, that's really easy. The bare minimum that you need is an imagination, a pencil, some paper, some dice, and a general knowledge of the rules. Okay? With that, you can run a game. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions because players aren't necessarily going to have books to reference to or things like that. But if you can give a basic rundown, hey, this is how it works, these are the rules of combat, blah, 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 blah. Here's how you whip up some basic stats, a basic portrait of a character. You've got some dice. You can run a game. You can do that. That's the other cool thing about D&D. You can play it almost anywhere. But that's the bare minimum that I feel that you need. Now, you can always expand on that. Definitely the next step up, get you some books. I mean, even though some of us aren't very good at reading, books are still nice and they got cool pictures. Alright, so, get you some books. Start off with a player's handbook, because that's going to be all the rules that you need to know and that your players are going to ask about. Second, get you a Dungeon Master's Guide, because that's going to help you out being a Dungeon Master. Third, definitely not least, get yourself a Monster Manual. Monster Manual is going to allow you to check out some different encounters and enemies that you might not have thought about before and give you the basic stats. Okay, so that's the next thing. What other things could we use to help us out? Another thing we could use, DM screen. What is a DM screen good for? Well, we all know, alright? We've all done it. As DMs, we may or may not have had to fudge some dice rolls at one point or another. We rolled one too many crit 20s against a player, and it's like 20 minutes into the game. Alright, well, we're going to be a little lenient here. The last thing you need is the player right next to you leaning over and saying, actually that's crit 20, he does double damage, get such and such. Shut up. Shut up. Stop it. Sit down. Alright? DM screen's going to help you be able to hide that. Also, that's where you're going to be writing out all your enemy information. Their hit points, their attack bonuses, things like that, special weaknesses. You don't want your players peeking over that and seeing what you're throwing at them. Well, come on, guys, I'm not going to heal you because he's only got 5 hit points left. Just hit him and we're done. We're out of here. That kind of breaks the immersion and the intensity and the feeling of fighting, right? So a DM screen is very useful. And a lot of Dungeon Master screens actually have rules on the back. Little quick cheat sheets that you can use. Okay, what is prone again? Or, stun, blah, 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 blah. Alright, so DM screen, definitely a useful item. Another thing to use, a speaker. Okay? Some type of way to kind of play music or sound effects or ambient tracks. Currently, I'm running a Star Wars role-playing game. And in the last session, the guys were doing some ship-to-ship combat. And I used this speaker to play an ambient track of a star battle, in a sense. And it kind of put everybody into the mood. And this is really going to help you. That way you're not wasting your breath all the time trying to explain, the ambience and the feel of everything like that. Another thing that is useful are props. And I'm not talking we're getting in full costume and acting out every single attack, because that's going to get weird. So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to use basic props. So again, I'm running Star Wars right now, so things that I've used as props, a little Nerf gun right there, so blasters and things like that. And so if a character says, well, I'm going to turn the corner, and they're like in a hostile environment or something like that, okay, well, how exactly are you turning that corner? Are you just walking around, or are you looking around, peeking around, yada, 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 and it kind of gives a little bit of extra feeling and extra flair to your game. Now, one of the biggest, most important things that I have used, probably my most precious DMing tool, is a dry erase board. We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's go. We don't need that either. So, dry erase board. With a dry erase board, some folks like to use miniatures. Some folks like to use kids' toys, things like that, dice, coins, what have you. I like to use a dry erase board to manage combat, and also to put other information up there that the players kind of would readily want to know. How I use a dry erase board to manage combat is something that I'm going to cover in a different video, because if I was to start covering that now, we're going to be here for a while, and I know you guys got important things to do. I got to figure out where I left my co-host. So we're not going to do that today, but we are going to get to it, so don't you worry. Okay, so what does all this mean, summing it up? Do you need all this stuff to run a game? No. No, not at all. No. Like I said, an imagination, set of dice, pencil, paper, general knowledge of the rules, you can run a game. Does this stuff make it easier? Oh, yeah, it makes it a lot easier. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. Now you've got references. Now you've got props. Now you've got immersion and ambience. Now you've got a way to manage things. And this doesn't all cost a lot. One of the biggest draws of role-playing games is the fact that it is so inexpensive to get into. I mean, now, let's not lie to ourselves. The books, that's a lot of money for books. Dice aren't that bad, but you don't have to go grandiose on everything else. You can if you want. If that's your fancy, if that's what tickles you, by all means, be tickled. But I'm not going to spend that much money. So, dry erase board, it's like $20. Some markers, it's like $5. Extra sets of dice, things like that. Props, I've got kids, so they accumulate toys and things like that. Toy swords, shields, guns, stuff like that. So, I just use that. If I have to use miniatures, I've got a plethora of army men, and little figures that I could use for that if that was my fancy. I've never used miniatures before. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just not my kind of cup of tea. So, all in all, with just a little bit of investment, you can make your games run a lot smoother, be a lot less more clunky, a lot less chaotic, in a sense, because you can use these things, and the more you use them, the more you're just flowing. Switching to the next scene, music's already up there on the playlist. You've already got, the map drawn out, or the area drawn out, things like that. And it just helps you out a lot more. So, really, there's nothing more I can say on this subject. Find out what helps you. Find out what helps you run your game better. And if you don't want to use any of this, that's fine too, because it's your game and you're the DM. Alright, so that's it for this episode, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. We have a page called D20 and Friends. It's slowly growing. I'd like it to grow a little bit faster. Pop on over, give us a like. We do our uploads there and everything like that. Definitely leave us a comment. Give us some ideas of some other videos you'd like for us to do. And with that being said, I guess that is it, folks. So, one more time, I'm Fundy, and this is the Dyson Quill, as my currently missing partner would say. Stay nerdy, folks, and I say, bye-bye.